Today's episode will be the first episode of our Second Punic Wars campaign. The Second Punic Wars were a struggle between Carthage and Rome. I'll be playing Hannibal.
And I'll be playing Scipio. You're going down.
264 to 241 BC, Rome and Carthage are locked in the First Punic War. It's an epic struggle that will claim the lives of hundreds of thousands of men and ultimately reshape power in the Mediterranean. Ultimately, the victory would go to Rome, and they would force Carthage to pay thousands of talents of silver back in reparations for the war. In an attempt to reclaim some of their wealth and help pay back the Romans, Hamilcar Barca commanded a Carthaginian expedition to Spain in 237 BC, and for 8 years expanded the territory of Carthage in Spain before dying in battle in 228 BC. Hamilcar left behind his young son Hannibal, who would use the strategy that he used in Spain in the Second Punic Wars to bring the Roman Republic close to a defeat. In 218 BC, Hannibal attacked Saguntum, an ally of Rome and Spain, sparking the Second Punic War. Hannibal invaded Italy by crossing the Alps with North African war elephants. In his first few years in Italy as the leader of a Carthaginian and partially Celtic army, he won a succession of victories, including Trebia, Lake Tresemme, and Cannae, inflicting heavy losses on the Romans. And that is where our wargame today begins, with Hannibal having just crossed into northern Italy and beginning his conquest of the Romans. We'll be using a campaign map today for all the movements of the armies, and then playing the battles themselves on the tabletop using Little Wars TV Age of Hannibal rule set. Alright, so we are the Roman players for today's game. We both received 1,500 points to build our armies, and so what I did was I'm going to be mostly focused between Rome and Cannae, so I'm staying on the mainland in Italy. And Addie, where do you have your armies?
I have my armies protecting the sea, so that way we can get a better chance of hitting them. And
survival.
Yeah, and survival.
I, Hannibal, shall conquer Rome, destroying every Roman legion that they have stored on the peninsula. I shall take the heads of many, and I shall bring them back to Carthage as a prize for my people. But I have most of my main armies set up in Africa and Spain. But I have two Carthaginian armies crashing down on the peninsula right now.
Each point on this map represents a full army. The red is for the Romans and purple for the Carthaginian. Using the campaign map is simple. Players roll for initiative, and then the initiative player gets to move their armies first. An army is represented by a flag, and each army can only move 1 point per turn. A round will consist of 5 full turns, with players alternating back and forth. And at the end of a full round, any armies that share a point will be locked in combat and will play it out on the tabletop. And at the end of round 1, this is where we stand on the map, with 2 armies locked in combat up in northern Italy, myself and my son Jeffrey. We'll be building our battlefield today using the Age of Hannibal terrain system. It's a great unique system where you place down cards and then flip the cards and replace it with the terrain on the back. This is a really good system to use for kids as it allows them to be interactive and build their own battlefield. Once we're finished setting up, we can see the battlefield is pretty barren, but there is one particularly steep hill on my side. Jeffrey deploys his army on the table first and reveals it to be a 1,000 point army with 3 war elephants led by Hannibal himself. I reveal my much smaller force, a mix of Principes, Hastati, and Skirmishers, only 560 points. Jeffrey gets to move first. He has his army packed in a tight formation with his war elephants in the center, and he's moving the entire thing forward in my direction. But he's soon forced to make tough decisions as I've spread out my army across a long front, and I'm beginning to move my troops up onto the steep hill to the right of the map. Jeffrey sends in a small skirmish party escorted by a war elephant to attack me on the left. And the fighting is bloody, with most of the skirmishers being killed off and the war elephant doing a ton of damage. And after a few rounds back and forth, I'm down to just 1 stand to my leader on the left side of the battlefield. So I decide to do what any good general would do in this situation and run away. I take all of my orders and swoop my general and his 1 stand around the back of the Carthaginian army. On the right of the battlefield, the Romans that I positioned on top of the steep hill are getting ready to be charged by the Carthaginian army, mostly Celts. The Romans on this side are doing a little bit better holding out, and the Carthaginian casualties are starting to add up. The biggest advantage I have with the steep hill is that mounted troops cannot pass, so his war elephants have to sit at the bottom and just watch it all go down. Alright, so here's the situation for what's going on right now. The Roman legions are on top of a steep hill. They're pretty much making their last stand. I'm just trying to use the terrain for my advantage. My other half of the table, those units are pretty much all killed. I have one stand left of my Principes, and they are coming up with the general around the back, and I'm just trying to utilize them as best I can. The good thing about the steep hill is at least their heaviest units, the elephants, can't get up the hill. They can't actually charge me. They're still within range where they can shoot me, but we're just going to try to hold up on the hill and see if we can hold out for another couple rounds and maybe end up retreating, so we'll see.
For the next couple rounds, I just want to try to kill as many as I can. They're holding up their last stand up there on the hill. Their general is kind of creeping around the back, and that's kind of scaring me because I don't want my Celts to just run in all willy-nilly. And I'm just going to try to kill as many as I can.
Geoffrey charges at my remaining stand in my general with his war elephant. But with some lucky dice rolls on my part, I'm able to hit his elephant and cause one DMZ, causing it to run away in a panic. Over on the hill, Geoffrey's impetuous Celts continue to fail their rallies and have to charge the enemy. And I'm able to use this to my advantage as I use my skirmishers to lure the Celts away so I can envelop his higher quality troops and destroy them. And even though my defense of the hill has been successful so far, I'm down to my last 4 stands, which I form into a back-to-back square for defense against the next Carthaginian wave. He brings up a line of infantry, including Hannibal himself, and completely surrounds my remaining stands. In the far corner of the map, my separated general and last stand of Principes are able to score a kill against the elephant they've been pursuing. The fighting on the steep hill is bloody, with casualties on both sides, and after taking heavy losses, Geoffrey finally decides he's had enough and retreats from the battle. Geoffrey's surviving force is still about 750 points strong, whereas my force is only about 175 points left over. But he figured it wasn't worth pursuing me any further on that steep hill and losing additional stands. So now that we've finished round number 1 of our Punic Wars campaign, how do you think that first battle went?
I don't think it went too good for me. Because I came in with an 1,000-point army. Probably not bringing as many Celts into the fight. They're impetuous, so they went where I didn't want them to go. I retreated because I just felt like your small little group of guys wasn't worth it to lose my entire army over.
Using those strategy or the terrain cards, I was able to just get one of those steep hills that I knew that he couldn't move up with the elephants, and I placed that near the front lines of my battle, and I knew I was going to use it to try to bog him down a little bit, and it worked. So we were able to survive another day too. So in the end, no clear victory on the battle. I lost a lot of stands of troops, more than 50% of my army. We'll see what happens with episode 2, so stick around for episode 2, and if you like this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and please join us in the comments below with anything you'd like to see in the future or anything you'd like to add to this battle. We'll see you guys next week.